Hello everyone, this is the Nach on Sports podcast. I'm your host, Nach. I wanted to bring you an early podcast because I will be flying to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my second home, if you will, for my two best friends' wedding. Kim and Tyler, congratulations. I can't wait to get up there and see you guys again. And also see all my other friends in Milwaukee, or I should say all my rowdy friends in Milwaukee. So I can't wait to see you guys. I wanted to get this podcast done because there's a lot of stuff going on in the NFL. I had to get something on here. I couldn't wait till next week. But I really wanted to get into the debacle yesterday. That was the New York Giants and Buccaneers football game, and everyone's making a huge deal about, the kneel down and that whole situation. I just am, I would honestly call Tom Coughlin petty. Very petty for if we're going to really put the attention on one play. That was a kneel down that Tampa Bay was trying to cause a turnover. That game was never out of Tampa Bay's hands until the last 5 minutes of the game where Eli erupted. And just, I give Eli Manning credit and the Giants credit. They came back and they defeated Tampa Bay. The defense, McDonald and Talib just got abused and used by Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz. Rondé just got beat. He tried to play the odds, and it just didn't work out in his favor. But everyone's making a huge deal about this kneel-down play. I'm sorry, the last time I checked, it is 60 minutes. It's not 59 minutes and 45 seconds of football. It is 60 minutes. There were 5 seconds on the clock. Tampa Bay tried to get the ball. Last year, in overtime, San Diego's Phillip Rivers was in field goal position, and they were just going to try and make sure that the field goal kicker was in the center of the field, and he fumbled the snap. And Kansas City was able to take advantage of that. I mean, that's the reason why you play. I mean, if Tampa Bay had not been lined up, and I'll get to the point in a second where all of a sudden it's a cheap shot and they were trying to be friendly. That we'll get to that in a second. But first of all, what had happened if the Giants fumbled the ball? Just like they did in the middle, a while back with the Eagles, they just fumbled the handoff, and all of a sudden Herm Edwards picks it up and takes it, and the Eagles win. What if that would have happened yesterday? Sure, the odds aren't in Tampa Bay's favor, but why not play them? I mean, goodness, how are you just going to concede defeat? And that kind of game where Tampa Bay probably wasn't supposed to beat up the Giants the way they did. The Bucks beat the Giants for 3.5 quarters. That means nothing because Tampa Bay didn't win the game, and I know about moral victories. They don't mean anything. But you know what? A team from last season that went 10 games straight losing. 5 games they lost by 40 or more points. Atlanta put up 30 points by halftime in the final game. A team that gave up by the second quarter under a head coach that didn't know what he was doing, couldn't rally his troops, and he was loose. He held a loose ship, and now Greg Schiano has a tight ship, and Tampa Bay is playing great football. As a Bucs fan, I'm happy about this, but everyone in the NFL who was saying that Tampa Bay gave up, all of a sudden now they're fighting to the final end, and we're condemning them for it. I don't get it. I really don't. I'm sorry if I sound a little aggressive to this because this does anger me, because the fact that Tampa Bay is not getting any recognition except for the fact that the head coach said it's okay that we're going to try and get the ball. We didn't try to hurt anybody. We showed from the very beginning. This wasn't a sudden oh, hey, here we go. We're not going to do it, but then all of a sudden they did it. They lined up. Eli, you should have seen it coming. New York Giants offensive linemen, you should have seen it coming. They lined up. They showed you in every possible way they were coming for the football. I mean, and to expect that a team is supposed to just concede defeat, or at least at this point, bow to the Giants and the Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin because they're defending Super Bowl champions? I'm sorry, no. That's not the culture. That's not the way Tampa Bay is going to be doing things anymore. And everyone's saying, oh, it's Bush League by Schiano and everything else. Last time I checked, 5 seconds remaining in a game, still part of the game. It wasn't 5 seconds after the game. It wasn't 5 seconds before the game. It was 5 seconds within the game of play. You play till the whistle blows, and I've listened to everybody, every person that disagrees with it. I saw LaDainian Tomlinson saying he disagreed with it on NFL AM this morning. Offensive player. I listened to Mike Golick and Antonio Pierce, who Antonio Pierce was a Giant, and said that they did this before. Tom Coughlin, he says we were never instructed, but we did it. Tom Coughlin, I stand by a player that played for you in the New York Giants. So I think the only reason Tom Coughlin made this point and pushed this point and complained is the fact that he didn't even want to answer questions about how Tampa Bay pretty much beat up the New York Giants for 3.5 quarters. For 5 minutes of the game, the New York Giants showed up like the New York Giants that won the Super Bowl. For 5 minutes, the Giants played like they were defending champions. For the rest of the game, I don't know where they were. Eli Manning threw 3 picks. There was a little bit of pressure in the first half, but a lot of they got in the red zone 4 times and only 4 field goals. I'm happy the fact that Tampa Bay's defense can bone up. We have a defense. Sure, 5 minutes, we gave up. I'm used to that. We gave up 4 touchdowns in 4 minutes to Peyton Manning back in 2003, and that was after that was when we were defending our Super Bowl. So everyone's saying, this is Bush League, they shouldn't have done it. I don't want to hear it. You know what? Tampa Bay played hard. They played to the whistle. You don't want to do that. Put Eli Manning in the shotgun and take a knee and get away from the line. Because I'm telling you what, Tampa Bay is going to come for 60 minutes. If you're not ready for that, then shame on you. I mean, seriously. What if they would have got it? What if something would have happened? And because Eli Manning was falling. What if the ball just all of a sudden pops out because he loses it as he's falling and we have a loose ball? All of a sudden, it worked. Just like when Sean Payton kicked an onside kick coming into the second half of the Super Bowl. If they wouldn't have got it, Sean Payton would have been criticized for it. But it worked. It's the same thing here. If this would have worked for Tampa Bay, everyone would have praised Schiano, and every single team would be doing it now. And this game was 7 points. Tampa Bay, unfortunately by an interception on Freeman, was threatening the Giants on a bad call that Mike Williams' catch was called incomplete. Reminds me of the 1999 NFC Championship game when Bert Emanuel caught the ball, but it was called incomplete, and it put Tampa Bay back at the 40 instead of inside the Rams' 15. Once again, Mike Williams caught the ball. You saw the replay. 1, 2 steps, maintained control. When he got hit after the second step, that's when he lost the football, and it was a fumble. He made a football move. I'm hoping that we get a letter from the NFL, but probably won't do much good even if we get it or if we don't get it. Either way, I still thought that was a catch. But even if you want to dispute the fact that it was a catch, the fact that the guy was open there, Tampa Bay was driving. I mean, Freeman, if he doesn't throw that ball so high, he's got Dallas Clark, and we still had 1 timeout, so we still had a shot at the end zone. So I think that this only reason that this kneel down play is getting such legs is 1, it's in New York. 2, Tom Coughlin's complaining about it, and so are Eli Manning and the rest of the big blue crybabies. And the fact that they don't have an answer about how they're going to stop anybody. Because Tampa Bay pretty much took advantage of the New York Giants for 3.5 quarters, and Dallas took advantage of them last week. I mean, the Giants are not repeating as Super Bowl champions unless they change their play, especially on defense. And offensively, they can't turn over the ball. And Eli Manning's not going to throw for 500 yards. Tampa Bay's secondary was playing a lot of single coverage in the fourth quarter. Why? I don't know. Schiano, Sheridan, you two need to figure that one out. And let's not do that again. I mean, I knew we were going to give up yards because we gave up 300 yards to Cam Newton in the passing game. But we only gave up 10 in the rush game, which I was happy about. Andre Brown, we had a tough time stopping him, but I think that was because we were trying to play so much coverage because Akeem Nicks and Victor Cruz were beating us all day in the secondary. Talib and McDonald were just getting killed. It's that simple. I will give the Giants credit. Their receivers are good. Besides Eric Wright, I mean, Akeem was just looking stupid. And McDonald, when he came in, didn't look much better. I mean, they were caught out of position. A slant pass. Why is McDonald covering? Why has he got the outside when he's got no inside help? That makes no sense to me. He had the safety over the top. He should have been covering the inside because the linebacker was blitzing, so it was a wide open slant. Once again, out of position. Aqib Talib decided to jam the receiver, then decided he thought he was going to go inside, so he made a move inside, and then Hakeem Nicks blows right by him on the outside with no safety help. Just Aqib Talib and McDonald in other position, it's not only on them, but the secondary was out of position way too much in the fourth quarter. I'm just going to say my final piece on this game. Coughlin's making a big deal about this because he doesn't know how to answer for the Giants and the reason why Tampa Bay put up 34 points on them. Because Tampa Bay's offense is not the most potent offense, or wasn't the most potent offense in the NFL today. They got the Eagles to deal with still. They got one more game against the Cowboys, and they still got to deal with RG3. who almost won it yesterday, except for Morgan with a 15-yard penalty being stupid and letting Cortland Finnegan get under him. I mean, the Giants are in serious trouble, and Tom Coughlin used this as a way to get around that. No other reason. The only reason this thing is being made a big deal is because Coughlin brought it up, because Coughlin has no idea how the Giants are going to continue to function on defense, because their front four didn't get any pressure yesterday. I think they got 1 or 2 sacks, but that's it. Josh Freeman, on several occasions when they scored, had plenty of time to throw. So I'm not buying this whole, the Tampa Bay took a cheap shot at him, and this is the storyline of the game. No. Tom Coughlin brought this up, pushed it to the forefront in the media, especially in the New York media, because he doesn't have an answer for why the Giants gave up 34 points and looked so miserable for 3.5 quarters, and Eli Manning brought them back and 5 minutes left, and Tampa Bay got way too conservative in the second half. So as everyone could tell, I'm a pretty passionate guy when it comes to the Bucks. I kind of wanted to address this earlier. Got a friend of mine tweeted at me saying that Schiano was a little too hard nosed. He thinks, and I gotta disagree with him. And he's a well-versed guy in football. This isn't some schlum. I just gotta disagree because I've seen what Tampa Bay was last year. They got ran over every time. Jacksonville ran them over, and Jacksonville was abysmal last year. And Jacksonville put up 40 points on Tampa Bay. They put up 40 points. If Tampa Bay would have played Indianapolis last year, Indianapolis would have got a win. Indianapolis would have definitely got another win on top of what they had last year. Indianapolis would have beaten the snot out of Tampa Bay if Tampa Bay was to play Indianapolis at the end of last year. Raheem Morris couldn't stop whatever quarterback Indianapolis would have threw out there. He had enough trouble stopping Painter out there last year when Indianapolis came to Tampa Bay on a Monday night game. So Tampa Bay needs this kind of coach. John Gruden was a fiery, hard-nosed guy that got into his players because that's what they needed. That's how they responded. And Schiano has no problem because, let's face it, any players that had a problem with his style have been shipped out. Tenard Jackson, Kellen Winslow, Brian Price, tragedy would happen, but I think he needed a new scene, and Tampa Bay wasn't working out. So everyone's saying he's a too hard-nosed guy. Well, Kellen Winslow got cut by Seattle. Tenard Jackson got suspended for a year because he can't stay away from the substance abuse policy. And, Brian Price got cut from the Bears. He got rid of players that he sent to other teams that those teams cut eventually. So, too hard-nosed guy? I don't think so. I think Schiano's done a great job in Tampa Bay. He got an opening victory against a team in Carolina that absolutely whooped the Bucks last year. So my response to saying that Schiano's Bush League or this isn't college let's also remember Schiano was in the league for 5 years. He was an assistant, so this NFL thing's not brand new to him. All right, and these unwritten rules, 5 seconds left, they weren't going to get anything. How do you know? I mean, like I said, I go back to the Kansas City-San Diego game. But that's enough about the Bucks. Everyone knows how I can feel. If you needed me to reiterate anything, go back to the very beginning of this segment and listen all the way through to get the message. So let's move on to the New Orleans Saints, the only team in the NFC 0-2. I can tell you this much: I predicted this when they suspended Sean Payton for a year. It didn't, regardless of the fact that Jonathan Vilma and those 4 players were suspended, and Will Smith. Because I'll be honest with you, even with Jonathan Vilma and Will Smith, they're just plugs that stopped a leaking dam in the first place, because they don't make that defense that much better. That defense was horrible to begin with. Okay, last year they gave up God knows how many points against the San Francisco 49ers, whose offense was pedestrian. And Alex Smith threw on all of them. So everyone said that New Orleans, they'll be fine. I expect them to be just fine. Drew Brees is there. Sean Payton was pretty important. And with all this goes on, even sometimes it's a distraction. And now with Vilma and the whole thing going on, even more of a distraction. And you have 3 head coach. You've got pretty much 3 or you lost your head coach, but now you got 2 coaches because you have an interim coach and you also have an interim for the interim. That's tough to play and win under those kind of circumstances, even with Drew Brees. I just, like I said, I'm not shocked. Everyone's acting, oh, well, I can't believe that New Orleans is this at this point in the season. They're 0-2, the only team in the NFC. No, I'm not surprised. I predicted this. I predicted them at best 8-8. I predict them actually going 6-10. I don't see them making the playoffs this year. Too many issues, too many problems. Their defense was bad when they had Vilma and Smith in there as it was. And now they lose Vilma and Smith. But Smith is back temporarily, and we'll see about Vilma. But even if they get those guys back, the defense is not that much better. I mean, except maybe for a few big plays that might no longer be there, I don't think the defense is going to stop anybody. So everyone that's saying, oh, they're surprised by the Saints, being 0-2. I'm not surprised. Never was surprised. I predicted this. I see them going 6-10. At best, going 8-8. They're going to miss the playoffs, even with Joe Vitt, who comes back. Because, eventually we may hear, well, maybe they just picked the wrong guy for the interim coach for the interim. Even when Joe Vitt comes back, they're still going to have the same problems. They are probably going to win a few more games with Joe Vitt, because Joe Vitt has been under Sean Payton for so many years. But the Saints are going to the playoffs. I predicted that, and I'll stand by it the entire way. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and everyone in the world can call me on it. But I'm telling you right now, the Saints are not making the playoffs, and the best 8-8 is what the Saints will finish at. I want to move on to the RG3. I thought maybe he was just benefiting from the fact that the Saints were a bad defense. But yesterday, it was because St. Louis stopped Detroit, which was a pretty high-powered offense. They stopped them in the first week, so I thought, he's got a test against St. Louis. RG3 looked really good yesterday, and I got to think, you know what? These two guys are going to be around for a while in the NFL. These guys can definitely play football, and they can definitely play the quarterback position at a high level. I knew Luck could. I knew Luck was probably going to be year 2, year 3 away from putting a winning season together because of the fact that they don't have a ton of talent around him yet. I mean, as much success as they had, they were picking at the bottom of the first round for so many years. And eventually that catches up with you because some of those players don't always work out, and you can't always count on those draft picks to work out for you. I mean, look at the wheeling and dealing that the New England Patriots have done, but out of all those players, you may have heard of 10 that actually are doing well and are still with the team. So, I like what Washington's bringing to the table. RG3, I'm on the bandwagon with you, buddy. Behind you, I like you. I think you're definitely going to be Rookie of the Year this year. You have the potential, and I mean, let's face it, you pretty much almost won that game yesterday if Josh Morgan doesn't throw the football at Cortland Finnegan. And you say what you want about Cortland Finnegan, he does his job because he gets under receiver's skin and he bugs the crap out of them. And Morgan was bugged the crap out of and cost his team major field position. And Billy Cundiff wasn't going to hit 62 yards. Moving on to the Eagles. The Eagles, because they gave up so many turnovers yesterday. They're 2-0. I would say you can't live this way forever. You got away with 2. You're not going to be able to give the ball up 4 times and continue to win. No, that's not going to happen. Cam Cameron was an idiot yesterday. I'm sorry. Ray Rice, 16 carries for 99 yards. You're not feeding this man? Why are you not giving him 25 touches? They got away from Ray Rice in the second half. I don't know why, because they did the same thing in the Cincinnati game last week. They got to feed Ray Rice. As much as they want to put Joe Flacco as one of those elite passing quarterbacks and, make him throw the ball, 40 times a game, stop it. Don't do that. You got a running back in Ray Rice. Feed him. Matt Schaub could do that, but they feed Arian Foster, and look at the success they have. Cam Cameron, feed Ray Rice, please. It really helped my fantasy team out anyway. But, so yeah, the Eagles, I don't see them winning this way. I think they can get better. I think as long as they don't turn over the ball over, they'll win games. But they can't continue this way, turning the ball over 4 times. That's not going to happen. And it's going to get tougher because eventually they're going to run into the Giants, they're going to run into the Redskins, and they're going to run into the Cowboys. And the Cowboys' defense proved, at least in Week 1, I don't know what happened yesterday, but they proved in Week 1 that they're opportunistic and will capitalize on turnovers. So, very interesting game. I'm surprised. I had the Ravens winning in this one. I was wrong. I was actually pretty much wrong about the Bucks game and the Ravens game. And let's see. Patriots-Cardinals. Yeah, I was pretty wrong about that one. I didn't see that coming. But at the same time, I got to give Arizona credit. I didn't think they had a defense. Last year they proved it against Seattle, or last week they proved it against Seattle. This week they did it against one of the most high-power offenses in New England. I think the fact now that they relied so heavily on their tight ends, now that Hernandez is out for probably at least a month with a high ankle sprain, the Patriots could be in trouble. Very interesting to see what happens with the Patriots moving forward. I think they'll respond. I think Tom Brady said that they had a bad week in practice. They weren't focused. I think Belichick will quickly fix that. I think probably by the end of today, Monday, he'll have that fixed, and the Patriots will be back in focus and back to form this Sunday. So I think there's a lot of things to take away from the game. Arizona, you don't sleep on Arizona. I mean, he didn't throw for a ton of yards, but he did make some plays. He did score enough points to beat the Patriots defense, and the Patriots defense is a very much improved team. So I'm not sleeping on the Cardinals anymore. I mean, that NFC West division for so many years was so bad. It could be the final year that that division finally turns it around and it's really competitive. So let's move on to the Jets Steelers. I'll touch on the Cowboys Seahawks and the Lions and 49ers a little bit. Really not going to dive into those games too much. The Cowboys Seahawks, obviously, yes, but the 49ers Lions, that's exactly what we expected. San Francisco made Stafford's day horrendous. Johnson couldn't get away that much. The big plays were taken away, and the 49ers defense looks just as impressive as it's ever going to be, and they're probably going to be the number one defense this season. And chances are, unless anything happens, barring injuries, the 49 the NFC is probably going to go through San Francisco. It could be different. One or two or three teams could drop the 49ers, and whatever team that could only post 2 losses could easily get in there. But I'll be honest with you, I think the 49ers, it's going to be the road through San Francisco, through the NFC to get to the Super Bowl. To be honest with you. But back to the Jets Steelers. Mark Sanchez showed his colors against a quality opponent. I thought last week was just a smoke and mirrors because they played a bad team, and I was right. The Jets just offensively looked horrendous. Tim Tebow got in there for a 22-yard carry. 10 of 27 for 138 yards for Sanchez. That's not good. And there's going to be pressure on you. You got to move the football. Granted, he doesn't have the greatest weapons in the world. You still got to be able to move the football. I mean, you guys looked amazing last week. You guys just fell flat on your face, and granted, it was against the Steelers, but, I mean, you didn't have Troy Polamalu wasn't in, James Harrison wasn't in, so you had 2 really key players for the Steelers defense that wasn't in that you should have been able to take advantage of. So, like I said, the Jets showed their true colors. The defense was okay. It made it tough for Ben Roethlisberger. And they held everybody in check as best as they could, but with the offense as porous as it is, the defense is just going to have fits all year long, I think. The surprise game, I'll be honest, I didn't think the Seahawks was going to beat the crap out of the Cowboys, but I was wrong on that one too. And the Seahawks really showed 2 different games. Against Arizona, they had trouble putting up points. And the Dallas Cowboys showed, I thought, last week against the Giants that they were a for-real team. They fooled me, but then, of course, they fooled everybody because, everybody's talking about it today as like, what happened to the Dallas Cowboys? Why are we rolling backwards? I don't know what happened to the defense, to be honest with you. They got behind early. Things didn't work out. I think they suffered the same thing the Patriots did. They got lackadaisical. They didn't focus. They were high off that Giants win. And they just went into Seattle, which is already a tough enough place to play. They just didn't do it. They didn't get the job done. They weren't focused, and I think this week is a different week for them. I think moving forward, I think them being finally home this upcoming week against the Bucks. I think that's going to be some good rest and some good focus, and I think that Dallas Tampa Bay game is going to be a real good one this Sunday. So that should be a really interesting game. I other than that, I really don't know what to say. I mean, Romo gunslinged it. I think DeMarco Murray, you got to get him more touches, but perhaps that's the reason because they were down so much as it was late in the game. So yeah, I think, like I said, I don't think this is the Cowboys team we're going to see going forward. Seahawks being in Seattle, that's a tough place to play. The 49ers and the Seahawks, when they do battle in Seattle, I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out because that crowd is going to be a huge factor, and Seattle's going to be geared up for the Niners. So interesting games to go forward. Tonight, Denver, Atlanta. It's going to be a game of offense, and whichever defense can get one interception or force one stop late in the game. Whoever can get one stop, I think, is probably going to win the game because I don't see either one of these defenses really stopping Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and Roddy White, and Tony Gonzalez, and Michael Turner. I don't really see anybody stopping Peyton Manning and Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker and those guys and Jacob Tamme. I just don't see anybody on Atlanta's defense that can stop them. So I would expect a high-scoring game tonight between Denver and Atlanta. I think Denver pulls out the victory. I think the NFC South, besides Carolina, had a rough week. But I would expect that the NFC South will probably do better next week. And it'll be an interesting week 3. I'm very interested. A lot of storylines already in the NFL. I don't think you can really even know who's going to be that worst team yet because it's just too early to tell. You don't know what teams could really take off because, like I said, you've seen teams that go 0-2 and they can go to the Super Bowl. Teams can go 2-0 and like Tampa Bay, they went 4-2 and then they fell right off, and they're picking number 5 in the NFL draft. So, like I said, we still got a lot of football to play. You're not really going to be able to tell probably by week 9 or 10. You'll see the teams that are going to be bad, but otherwise everybody's still in the mix. I don't see a team that's really going to be bad just yet. I mean, Titans and Jacksonville could make a play for it. New Orleans could if they keep going down the way they're going. The Raiders are probably a team that will because they played the Miami Dolphins yesterday. I thought Raiders were going to win that one. Don't know how you lose 35-13 to the Dolphins with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback, but that's the Raiders for you. So yeah, that's my NFL wrap up. As you can tell, really kind of focused on the Bucks Giants game and the controversy surrounding that. I'll say again, Tom Coughlin brought this to the forefront because he doesn't have an answer for the reason why the New York Giants played so poorly yesterday and played so miserably, except for the last 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, which counted. So, like I said, I think Tampa Bay's got a lot of good stuff going forward. I think Schiano's the man when it comes to being the guy in Tampa Bay. He's changing the culture. He's changing the attitude in Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay is no longer just going to be a run-over team like it has been in the past, 4 to 5 years in that division. So, like I said, I'm impressed. I like it. I don't think that was a cheap shot. You play till the whistle blows. You had 5 seconds left. New York was deep in their own territory. Tampa Bay was a fumble away from possibly getting that ball back, and that's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to hurt anybody, and that was not the intent of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're not the Raiders. So I would just say that's not the style Tampa Bay plays. We were trying to get the ball. That's all it was. Eli Manning called it a cheap shot. Whatever, Eli. Next time, don't fall. All right, be prepared. You saw it coming. Or if you didn't see it coming, or if you thought they were faking it, then shame on you. But shame on Tom Coughlin for turning in a great game into this petty controversy that it is now because of his comments and because of just I don't even know what to call it. Like I said, I don't know what to call it, but on his part, it wasn't Bush League. It wasn't a move that we were trying to hurt anybody. It was we were trying to get the ball. We had 5 seconds left in the game. You don't know what's going to happen, and there's plenty of plays in the past that show that you can definitely get that ball back on by some luck. The odds were not in your favor, or were not in Tampa Bay's favor at all yesterday. You're right, but you know what? A lot of times the odds aren't in your favor, and those big plays happen, and nobody thought they would happen. So like I said, I think Tampa Bay, New York, this will all go away in a few weeks. It won't matter, and all the threats about, oh yeah, we'll remember. That's what I heard some of the Giants say. Oh, we'll remember that. I'm like, all right. Well, how about next time you actually just play a complete game and you worry about what you got to take care of because you guys just showed that a team that lost 10 games straight almost beat you. So yeah, I think the Giants need to take care of their own. They need to stop worrying about all the press and just trying to show that they're the Super Bowl defending. They're trying to I don't even know what they're trying to do with all the smack they're talking. The Giants need to be worried about taking care of their own, because right now that defense looks bad. The front four can't get any pressure, and that secondary is so banged up that they can't cover anybody. So, like I said, guys, I'm not going to have a podcast for you later this week previewing any of the games or any of the college games. Just look on my Facebook or my Twitter for who are my top 5 games on Saturday and Sunday and who I'm predicting to win and lose. I'll have my updated record. Unfortunately, I took a hit this week because I didn't believe in my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. My Irish beat Michigan State, and I was really happy about that. Booyah, Trey. And so, like I said, I'll try and have something for you definitely next week. Have some fantasy football for you. Definitely preview some of the high school games that'll be going around in the 3-2-1 Brevard County, Space Coast area. Definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully the show will be up soon. Still working out the kinks on that. I want to thank everyone that listens to the podcast. You guys are definitely appreciated. Definitely supporting the Nach on Sports podcast. And if you can, share it, retweet, post it on walls so people can hear it. Definitely want to try and spread this out as best as I can. So like I said, you can follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on my blog, thenachonsports.blogspot.com. You guys have a great week. I can't wait to see all my friends up in Milwaukee. Can't wait to be a part of Kim and Tyler's wedding. You guys have a good one. This is the Nach on Sports. Knock out.